what up, guys? Coming here this morning, another What's Next. This one is on my number 3 featherweight in the world. I accidentally skipped over him, and we're going to do my number 3 featherweight in the world, Kid Galahad, former world title challenger. Featherweight is 126 pounds, so I'm going to jump in and take a look at what he's got going on next. Now, Galahad last fought in February on the 8th on a DAZN undercard when he took on Claudio Marrero and scored the biggest win of his career. It was a dominating 8th-round TKO win over a tough Marrero who'd only ever been stopped by Jesus Rojas. So Galahad, big-time win. It was an IBF title final eliminator. So they're fighting to determine the new #1 contender in the IBF. And Galahad dominated and got the win. So now he's in line for the world title. Now, he's not going to get the immediate shot because Warrington, the champion, who was the only guy that beat Galahad by a close split decision last year, he is in optional mode right now to defend his title. He was granted an optional defense of the belt, and he's going to be facing off against Shu Kan of China, the WBA champion, in a unification bout. After that, Galahad looks to be in line for the world title. Now, Galahad is also, though, the WBC's #2 contender right now. So, you know, it's going to be interesting, especially with Gary Russell Jr., the WBC champion. It's going to be interesting to see if Galahad is going to go after the IBF title against Warrington in a rematch, which it's going to be the IBF and the WBA because it's going to be a unification bout. Whether he would be, whether he'll go after that or whether he'll go after the WBC title next. So let's take a look and run through the top 10 and see what's next for Kid Galahad, and we'll go over the options. We start with #1, a rematch with undefeated IBF champion Josh Warrington. This fight could be next. Galahad could wait around for the winner of Warrington and Shu Kan. He could wait around and fight the winner of that fight. He doesn't have to fight, take an interim fight in between. Personally, I think he's going to. So I don't think Warrington's going to be next, but he could very well he could be the next meaningful fight, though, because I believe if he's planning on going after the unified title against Warrington or Kan, especially against Warrington, if he fights in between, it's going to be a tune-up type fight against a guy who he can, you know, clearly beat. Excuse me, sorry guys. So #2 is WBC champion Gary Russell Jr. I don't think sorry guys, I don't think there's any chance of him and Russell locking horns for the title. Oh man, I am so sorry guys. Unexpected allergies this morning. I don't think there's any chance of him and Russell fighting for the title, but he could be going after the WBC title next. I think there's a small chance of that happening. Not a big chance, but a small one, because the WBC title might become vacant, and that might be a quicker way to get a world title fight, because I don't believe Gary Russell's going to be fighting for the WBC title in his next fight, and Galahad is one of the top 2 contenders, so he could very well get a vacant world title shot in his next bout. So would he go after that instead of waiting around for the unified champion between Warrington and Shu Kan? I think it's possible. I think it's less likely because I think he wants to go after Warrington again in a rematch and 2 belts as opposed to 1. But I really wouldn't be surprised if he decided to take on and go after the vacant WBC belt. #3 is Galahad. #4 is Carl Frampton. No chance of this one. Frampton is moving up to 130 to challenge for the WBO title there, so no chance of him and Galahad locking horns. #5 is WBA champion Shu Kan. Again, Galahad can't. This could be next, because Kan, I do believe, is a very live underdog against Warrington in their unification bout. Kan throws a lot of punches, entertaining fighter. He could very well be going after. He could very well win that fight against Warrington, and if he does, Galahad is the mandatory contender to the winner of that fight. So would is there a chance these two guys could lock horns? And yeah, Galahad could wait around for the winner. He could not fight and wait around for the winner and do that. So could be next. That is possible. Number 6 is drawing a blank here. Number 6 is undefeated Shakur Stevenson. Not going to happen. Stevenson is with Top Rank, and he's likely moving up to 130 pounds in his next fight. So Galahad's not gonna face him. Number 7 is former champion Jesus Rojas. I don't see this one. Galahad would be risking a lot to come to face off against Rojas next. He has a mandatory title fight due, or he's directly in line for the WBC title. So I don't think this fight makes any sense at all for him to go after a fight with Rojas. So not going to happen. Number 8 is Tuchko Nayanbayar. Now this fight is possible as well, and the reason why is Nayanbayar is number 3 in the WBC, and if Gary Russell gives up that belt and number 1 contender Jesse Magdaleno decides to go after the WBO title that could be vacant instead of the WBC title, because Magdaleno is the number 1 in the WBC, if he decides to go after the WBO title instead, then that leaves Galahad at number 2 and Nayanbayar at number 3 in the WBC. And if that title's vacant, these two guys could very well square off for the belt. So yeah, I definitely think this fight's possible and could happen next. You know, so we'll see. Number 9 is Isaac Dogboe. Not gonna happen. Dogboe still hasn't even made his debut at 126. He's also a top ranked guy. He's not gonna want to face a guy like Galahad, and Galahad wouldn't want to face him anyway, knowing everything he's got lined up. And then finally, at number 10 is Jesse Magdaleno, former world champion. Former world champion at 122 super bantamweight. This fight is possible as well, and the reason why is I just mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Magdaleno is lined up for the WBC. He's a WBC's number 1 ranked contender. If Gary Russell vacates that belt, which is very likely because he says he's moving up in weight, then Magdaleno's number 1 and Kid Galahad's number 2. So these two guys could square off for the vacant world title next. That is possible. I don't think it's likely because for a couple reasons. Like I said, I really think Galahad wants to take a shot at the unified title and go after his IBF mandatory. But also, I really think Magdaleno's gonna once the WBO re-ranks their fighters, I think Magdaleno's gonna be going after the vacant WBO title once Shakur Stevenson vacates, because he's probably gonna face off against Michael Conlan. Now, none of that's 100%, but that's possible. So what do I think Kid Galahad's going to do next? I honestly believe he's going to be going after the unified title, but he's probably going to take an interim fight in between, maybe even become the interim champion, or just stay busy and get a win. And he's probably going to face the winner of Warrington and Shukan for the unified world title. So that's what I think is going to happen. We'll see. I hope you enjoyed this one. That's my number 3 featherweight in the world at 126, Kid Galahad. True boxing. You've been hit with the truth.